Let's talk about Gibraltar. After their semi-finals victory in the recent World Cup, a member of the Argentinian team displayed a banner saying, "Las Malvinas son Argentinas." Las Malvinas are the Falkland Islands, the site of a war in 1982 between Argentina and the United Kingdom. As a result of that player's political act, at least several people around the world spent 5 minutes thinking about the British overseas territories. I was one of them, because that same week there was a bigger news story here in Spain, as the border fence separating Spain from Gibraltar was taken down. Which is interesting, because Gibraltar is a British overseas territory as well, located on an isthmus at the southern tip of Spain. It would probably be more accurate to say at the southern tip of the Iberian Peninsula because, like I said, Gibraltar is British, not Spanish. It's also tiny. At just 2.6 square miles, it's dominated by a large rock, El Peñón in Spanish, and home to about 34,000 Gibraltarians who hold British citizenship. Why is Gibraltar important? Well, the location is very strategic, sitting at the southern tip of the Iberian Peninsula and just 9 miles off the northern tip of Morocco. The rock overlooks the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea. During the Napoleonic Wars, as well as World War II, Gibraltar was an important Royal Navy base, and in peacetime, about half of the world's seaborne shipping goes through the Straits of Gibraltar, so controlling the passage is vital. The border issue was one of the last things that needed to be resolved post-Brexit, and after several years of negotiations between Spain, Gibraltar, and the UK, the fence was finally taken down in July 2026. This improves the lives of several thousand Spanish people who cross the border to work every day. Long-term implications remain to be seen. For now, as far as I can tell, your average Spanish person doesn't have a strong opinion about Gibraltar. It's not a big topic of conversation in my world. Still, the Spanish ambassador to the United Nations recently demanded that the UK decolonize Gibraltar because of international law. So I guess someone thinks we should add Gibraltarian sovereignty to our list of pressing global problems. Hey everybody, it's Daniel. Welcome back to Spain to Go, the best podcast in the entire multiverse for all things Spain. This is episode 151. I'm talking about Gibraltar and Ceuta and Melilla, two Spanish enclaves on the north coast of Africa as well. I've got 2 shout-outs today. First is for another JR in Texas. We have had several donations from JR in Texas. This is another JR in Texas, a completely different person, who says, "I've been listening for a while and really enjoy the episodes. Congrats on the pregnancy. You're an okay-looking guy, but your wife is beautiful, so I'm pretty sure you two will have an amazing little person. Keep up the great work." Thank you, JR. It is true. That's a good analysis. I am an okay-looking guy, and my wife is very attractive, so hopefully the kid will turn out well. As far as I can tell, there aren't a lot of ginger guys marrying South Indian women in the world, so we don't have a great idea of what this combination is going to look like. But we'll find out soon. So thank you to another JR in Texas. Second shout out today is from Desert Dan. Desert Dan says, "Hi Daniel, heartiest congratulations to you and Morena. Having 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters, I can tell you it's the beginning of a challenging and rewarding journey. Enjoy the wonder. You've come a long way." From Viadana. Congrats to all 3 of you. Viadana, incidentally, is the street that I grew up on out in the Arizona desert, and I actually know Desert Dan. Desert Dan was friends with my dad way back in the day, and I believe I went hunting with my dad, Desert Dan, and maybe my uncle Ron a couple of times. This is when I was very small. I wasn't hunting anything. I was just along for the camping trip, and I remember having a great time out in the desert for a few days. Anyway, thanks, Dan, for your donation. If you would like to donate to the Spain to Go podcast, please head on over to expatmadrid.com/donate. expatmadrid.com/donate is the donation page. You can send anything from 10 euros on up to however much you want. It all goes to support my lavish lifestyle of occasionally having coffee outside the house and to the diaper money fund for my soon-to-be-born daughter. I've talked a bit about that situation in the previous few episodes, so that's why people are commenting on it. Anyway, thank you very much to JR and Dan. Once again, if you would like to donate, head on over to expatmadrid.com/donate. Thank you very much. And let's get back to Gibraltar. We first have to talk about the question of why is Gibraltar British anyway? The story of why the UK owns Gibraltar goes way back to the War of the Spanish Succession, which lasted from 1701 to 1714. As the name suggests, the war was about who would be Spain's next king. Charles II of the Habsburg dynasty died childless and mad in 1700, and both Habsburgs and Bourbons claimed the Spanish throne. Several countries formed a grand alliance to oppose the Bourbon claimant, and war ensued. As a result, Gibraltar was captured by Anglo-Dutch forces in 1704 and ceded to the UK in perpetuity under the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713. The island of Minorca was also captured during the War of Spanish Succession. It remained a British possession until 1802, when it was returned to Spain. Beyond the issue of Gibraltar, the details of the War of Spanish Succession are significant in the history of Spain. For one thing, it's how we got the Bourbon monarchy. Felipe V of the House of Bourbon, a grandson of French King Louis XIV, came out as the eventual winner of the war and became King of Spain. Today, his descendant Felipe VI is king, although there have obviously been several other monarchs in the intervening 300 years. Second, after becoming king, Felipe V centralized power in Madrid, abolishing the Crown of Aragon. In the Catalan version of history, this is the origin story of Catalonia as a nation oppressed by Spain. In reality, it's unclear to me how independent Catalonia ever was. In 1714, the idea that regular people had individual rights had not yet caught on. There was no liberal democracy in those days. So, if anything, Catalan independence meant that there was a local nobility that enjoyed some freedom from the larger Crown of Aragon. And incidentally, that Crown of Aragon included an entire Mediterranean empire that owned Sicily, Naples, Sardinia, the Balearic Islands, and more. Today, in my area of Barcelona, we have streets named Aragon, Mallorca, Provenza, Nápoles, Sicilia, etc., in honor of the former territories of the Crown. Whether the mayor of Barcelona will eventually be forced to apologize to Italy for Catalonia's long history of colonialism is an open question. Here are some interesting facts about Gibraltar and the Rock. First, the language. Gibraltar has a dialect called Llanito, which is a mix of British English and Andalusian Spanish, with bits of other languages thrown in. I was once on a plane with a bunch of Gibraltarian girls. I think they were a field hockey team or something similar, and I couldn't understand a word any of them were saying. Second, the monkeys. The upper part of the Rock of Gibraltar is a nature reserve that's home to about 230 Barbary macaques. They're Europe's only wild monkey population, and legend has it that if the monkeys ever leave, so will the British. Winston Churchill was concerned about this legend and about Gibraltar's declining monkey population during World War II, and telegrammed his colonial secretary with orders to keep an eye on the situation. Today, the monkeys are fearless and known for stealing things from tourists, so watch out. Third, there's the wedding tourism. This is not legal advice, of course, but Gibraltar is known for wedding tourism. It's very difficult to get married here in Spain. I have no idea why, but you can get married in Gibraltar under British law after staying in town for just one night. This was mentioned in The Ballad of John and Yoko, a Beatles single from 1969. The lyric, "You can get married in Gibraltar near Spain," caused the song to be banned by Franco's dictatorship, which at the time was making claims about Gibraltar's Spanishness. According to what I have read, Gibraltar was a rather hot topic during the dictatorship, and the border was closed from 1969 to 1982. Now, like I said, the border is fully open, and there will be a joint UK-Spanish passport control at the seaport and at Gibraltar International Airport moving forward. In 1999, Gibraltar issued postage stamps commemorating the 30th anniversary of the wedding of John and Yoko near the Rock. You can see pictures online. You can actually see pictures and read this article on my blog at spaintogo.substack.com if you're into that kind of thing. spaintogo.substack.com. Substack is just another blogging platform that I'm using these days. Happy to see you there if you decide to subscribe. Anyway, Gibraltar is, like I said, on a narrow isthmus that points south into the Mediterranean Sea. Its border with Spain is in the municipality of La Línea de la Concepción in the province of Cádiz. And La Línea is known as one of the poorest and most crime-ridden parts of Spain. In fact, the name of La Línea is basically synonymous with drug trafficking, contraband, and poverty. Apart from crime, the main industry in town seems to be sending people to Gibraltar to work. There isn't much going on otherwise. I guess it's possible that the open border will improve conditions in La Línea. Only time will tell. The new regime might end the illegal tobacco trade, at least. The treaty limits the price difference with the intention of making contraband less profitable. The fast boats bringing hashish, cocaine, and other drugs from Morocco will presumably still be a problem. But while we're on the topic of enclaves, Spain has some overseas territories of its own in that area. Specifically, Ceuta and Melilla, two Spanish cities on the north coast of the African continent. If you're taking the Spanish citizenship test someday, this kind of question is likely to come up, so you should know that Spain has 17 autonomous communities, plus the two ciudades autónomas of Ceuta and Melilla. These cities did not become part of Spain yesterday. Ceuta has been part of Spain since the year 1580. Previous to that, it was Portuguese. Melilla has been Spanish even longer, since 1497. So I guess they go back to the age of exploration, when Portugal and later Spain were major world powers. In the early 20th century, the two enclaves were important forts in the Spanish protectorate in Morocco. Future dictator Francisco Franco earned his stripes in the Rif War, which pitted Spain against the local hill tribes. Today, the cities of Ceuta and Melilla aren't known for much, but importantly, they each have a land border with Morocco. This occasionally causes some problems when African migrants rush the border fence in large groups. Or today, I read in El Español that a lot of people are using the warm summer weather to swim around the Ceuta border and make it to Spain that way. Recently, there was a brief panic in the Spanish newspapers because someone who used to work for the Pentagon wrote an article suggesting that Donald Trump should give Ceuta and Melilla back to Morocco. Not that they're his to give back, but I suppose that it's all part of the larger conflict between Spain and the United States over the funding of NATO. I wrote about the public spat between Donald Trump and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez in an article on my blog and also an episode here on my podcast. That is episode 134. It is called Pedro Sanchez versus Donald Trump. You can listen to it wherever you're listening to this. Episode 134. Anyway, Pedro Sanchez is very unpopular here in Spain for a long list of reasons that have nothing to do with Donald Trump. I talk about them in that episode. Diplomatic posturing aside, Ceuta, Melilla, and Gibraltar have been in the same hands for hundreds of years. I don't think getting them back is a top-of-the-mind issue for anyone, unless they happen to live in the shadow of the Rock of Gibraltar. That's about all I've got for today. I hope you are doing well wherever you are in the world. Thanks again to JR in Texas, another JR in Texas, and to Desert Dan for supporting this podcast. If you would like to support the podcast, please go to expatmadrid.com/donate. expatmadrid.com/donate is the donation page. I'll use it for diaper money. If you're wondering why I keep saying diaper money, it's because of a song by a group called The Lonely Island. If you have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy, you should definitely know about The Lonely Island. You can find the song on YouTube. It's just called Diaper Money. It's a rap song. It's also comedy, you know. So like I've been saying, expatmadrid.com/donate is where you can send that diaper money. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. It's on YouTube on the Learn Spanish with Daniel channel, and it's also on all of the apps. You could also leave a 5-star rating or a comment, depending on the platform. Not every platform has ratings or comments, but if you're on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, I think you do. So just whatever you can do to help is great. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, from beautiful Barcelona, hasta la próxima. Bye.